Hey, you're listening to Fat and Greasy Citizens, a podcast about Shakespeare. I'm Fat.
And I'm Greasy. Every week we do a deep dive into every act of every Shakespeare play ever written, mostly while drinking.
More specifically, I'm Chuck. I'm a former English major and now a digital editor who cares a lot about Shakespeare.
And I'm Gabe. Let's do it!
What's crack-a-lackin', subjects? It is the royal we, QE1 and the place to be. Oh, I've got bars, mine uncle. In this episode of Fat and Greasy, we have two gentlemen of Verona Act 2, which is comprised of 7 scenes. Shakespeare serves this act family style, so bring your appetite for comedy.
She needs to wear an eye patch like a pirate. I heard an interesting theory. It might be apocryphal, I don't know. But I heard an interesting theory where that the eye patches were for pirates to keep one eye in the dark, so that when they went from the top deck down into the hull, they would switch it, and the one eye would be already accustomed to the dark. You know, and then it would be easier to go up and down from the deck. I thought that was a cool idea. Whether or not it's true, I don't know.
I don't know, but that's how we're opening the podcast because that's fucking awesome. Here's something that's true. Did you know that?
I think it's true. I choose to believe it's true. This is my truth.
Hello, syphilis.
Syphilis.
Okay, syphilis.
Syphilis. Parsippany whippany.
I really enjoyed Act 2 and I felt like it leaned into everything we're talking about, them being loathsome people in Act 1, but like it started getting a lot more fun. I felt like in Act 2.
Yeah. It's almost like a vaudeville structure. Like these are to have 6 scenes in one act is
Too
like
much.
it's not it's too I think it's too many. But I think wisely, because it's a comedy, they're all relatively short vignettes. Like they go very quickly. And I don't know if I've seen that really.
No, I remember when I got to the end, I was just like, I remember getting like scene 5 and I was like, wow, this is a lot. I just had to flip forward and I was like, good gadzooks, why would there be this many scenes?
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that I'm liking about this is sometimes like a joke that would land flat for me and like shrew is working for me here in part just because I'm liking the rhythm of it. And so I liked the rhythm of having like 7 scenes on top of each other. Like it actually
that's right. It is 7
I'm
scenes.
not sure it's a good joke, but I liked the rhythm of the joke. I like this staccato back and forth between the characters. So speaking of right at the beginning of Act 2, Scene 1, when Speed and Valentine are talking, when Valentine says, like, he's just being a romantic dork saying, oh, Sylvia, and Speed's just like, Sylvia!
Yeah.
What are you doing? Weren't you calling her? And just like out of the gate, I'm like, all right, I like this. Like I could see that on stage and it actually being funny. And it could be that Speed's a moron, or it could be Speed just making fun of him, just being like, well, if you're just going to sit here and quote someone's name, then this is what you do. You yell, see, she's not here. So.
Oh, yeah. I think Speed is definitely this is I think that if you're doing stunt casting today with a version of this, with a production of this, you'd go for like either a big name comedian like a Chris Rock, or like you do something like Chance the Rapper, because like there's a line where Valentine asks him like, what'd you say? And he said, nay, I was rhyming.
Yeah. I actually, the first big block of text Speed has in Scene 1, it read like Robin Williams to me. Like,
oh yeah, okay.
He's like, Valentine says, what do you think I'm in love? Like, why do you know I'm in love? And he just lists off, he's like, because you walk funny, you look stupid, you talk to yourself, you're hungry, you look at the stars, and you look like a maroon. And then he segues from that into just like rat-a-tat puns about just like making fun of him throughout. And it was just great. And not just like the puns are okay, but also they're just the rhythm of them are great.
Well, his speed scenes with Valentine's are definitely more fun and funny than like the Lance shit, which we'll get to a little later. Like Lance, I think is infuriating, but
he sucks. He's
but
great, and it's great to have him next to Speed because, like, since you have him next to Speed, you know that they're not. You know that Shakespeare's not just saying like, "Oh, the low class guy is a dullard worthy of contempt." It's like, no, Speed's at his same level. Speed's awesome. Lance or Lance, whatever his name is, just sucks. So you could be an interesting, cool servant, or you could be douche magoosh, which Lance happens to be.
oh yeah, and he's got like, I mean, he's got some really solid lines. Like, he says at one point, "These follies shine through you like water in a urinal."
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
He's literally comparing his love to seeing blood in your piss.
It's a beautiful, like he's clearly sharp, and he's clearly not afraid to say these things to his higher,
No, it's awesome. And so Speed just like lays into him for like 20 lines, and then Valentine like says, "Okay, but really, do you know Sylvia?" And Speed has this wonderful response. He just says, "Oh, you mean the woman you watch whenever she's eating dinner?"
Right.
Such a cut. It's just
Believe me, I don't know her, but I know you. I know her. I know of her because of you.
Knows, like, when everyone sits down to eat, you just stare at this woman. So yes, I picked up on that.
Yeah, it's like I have eyes, but it's what. Speaking of eyes, and whether his staring at her. I love Speed's line. If you love her, you cannot see her.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's certainly a theme, or not a theme necessarily, but a message throughout this play that love. Well, maybe it is a theme. That love is a sickness, and it weakens your powers of perception, right? So like if you in fact love this woman, you're not seeing the real woman.
Well, I think
love is a veil,
On the one hand, like the four people trying to fall in love, the two men, the two women, are just dolts, and there's no logical reason for their love, and so that works as perceptive for Speed, but at the same time, I feel like it works as like Speed just being like a general skeptic of love or anything else. But he doesn't just seem like he's being a killjoy. It seems like he's effectively diagnosing these four morons who are just like, there's probably someone who would merit any of this flowery speech, but that's not you, and that's not the woman you're talking about, because you don't actually see anything. You just get literal cartoon hearts in your eyes and start saying really bad soliloquies. And so
that's what's interesting about what Speed says, because he's what I find interesting, and something that will play into the following scenes, and why I think this is probably the strongest act that we've read together so far, is that the irony and the sort of the that message of being blinded by love is kind of folded in really meticulously here. Like it keeps growing and growing, where, by the end of the scene, you're having, Julia, giving a speech that is so ironic because Proteus just said something, contradicting it in the previous scene. Like it's pretty well thought out, this one, No,
I love this from a structural point of view. And I again, just like Speed carries all of these scenes, like I want him in every scene. I love that out of the gate, he refers to this woman that his boss is in love with variously right out of the gate as deformed, hard-favored, painted. He's just like, oh, that horsewoman that you're in love with, that deformed freak, and he's just like, she's the most beautiful. He's just like, you can't even see anything. She is just a hippopotamus, and you can't see it. Like he couldn't find more ways to insult her, and I love the whole thing to just see him just like saying that to his boss throughout. And comedically it works that like that Valentine is just like ignorant to the whole thing, that like he doesn't know what to do with it, so he just keeps trying to push ahead and get information about Sylvia.
And I wonder how different productions have pulled this off, because for me, I wonder if the message is greater if Sylvia is in fact a very attractive woman, and it's just Speed playing on that idea of blind love, where it's like, you know, I could say anything to this guy and he would take it as an insult because he's so blinded. You know, oh, you mean that dog over there? You're in love with that dog? You know, and just to wind him up and get him flustered about about it, you know?
But I also like Valentine, that Valentine, like, he seems like the nice kind of rich gentleman, in that, like, he doesn't take the bait, and he has a couple good, just like succinct lines. Like, Speed makes fun of him for like most of a page, and then Valentine just says back to him, "Yeah, in conclusion, I stand affected to her."
Yeah.
It's like, so I know what you're trying to do here. I like her. Can you give me some information? He just keeps trying to insult her, and he won't take the bait. And I like that back and forth. Like, he understands that the smart move is to play straight man. He plays straight man very well, and doesn't take the bait overall. Which is, and then it's interesting that as soon as Sylvia walks in, you're just reminded that, like, oh, she's needy and insecure and awful. Like, there's no reason to see anything in her. I feel like all of her insecurities about, I mean, everything about letters in this is awful, but like, whenever there's a confusion about letters, it just reminds you that these are people who, like, are just looking for tokens to tell themselves they're in love. There's nothing, like, at any point they could communicate with each other and the play would end. But instead they're constantly like, I told you to write a note for someone. You wrote a note for someone. You said it wasn't for me, so I'm offended. And I don't know, go away. It's just like,
yeah, but it definitely reminds you. I think Shakespeare does this a lot, where it just reminds you how childish young love is.
yeah,
You know, Romeo and Juliet. You know, and the list ends there. I can't think of another one, but like that idea that, you know, write a letter to this guy I like,
yeah,
and you know. And the joke that Speed brings up is, well, you know, you're writing a letter to yourself, stupid. She likes you.
yeah. And he's like, what?
Right. But like, just the idea of someone asking, like, I want you to write this letter. It's such a like coquettish, like
Yeah,
almost cruel thing to do.
It was so pretty. What kind of letter would you write to her? Like, what?
Yeah. It's that.
And he's just like, well, I'd rather write one to you. And she's like, oh my God.
Yeah, and just the idea that he doesn't get it, that Valentine doesn't get her convoluted, you know, letter scheme.
Yeah,
like she's angry at him, and it's like, and then Speed almost acts like, well, duh, but come on, like it's a stupid idea, you know.
Speed cast either as an older person, so if he was in his 40s and these were like a pair of 18-year-olds, or, you know, sometimes just like one teenager in a teen comedy is like coded as smart and world wise, but like either way, just be like dolt, like the person like explains what things happen to the audience. That's what Speed is. But either way, like, you could do really good work with a good charismatic guy just slapping Valentine on the back of the head and being like, this is what's happening, dummy. So
Speed played by Vince Vaughn. your money, your shit's blown up, man.
And I like that Speed's ending to this is like, I'm done talking, let's go eat. He's like, oh, but I could just dine on love. Like, we all can't dine on love, so let's go eat. But I could just shut up, let's go eat.
But I am genuinely hungry, stupid.
You schmuck, you absolute schmuck. I don't have anything else in scene one. I don't really have anything in scene two, except
scene two is just a placeholder, really, like just to let you know, like, meanwhile, Proteus leaves Julia, you know.
Except it's the first mention of a metaphor for like an ocean of tears, and like,
yes,
it's already so bad. Like, coming from Speed to this is already so bad. Then to say like, oh, the tide of tears is what will. And I feel like the fact that metaphor gets repeated by morons throughout the act is a good way to signal that just like, these are teens or young people who just like don't know how to work around the logic of love or of even their own words or whatnot, because it's just absurd to see someone struggle with words this much after having Speed just like run circles around everyone. And I feel like, again, I feel like Valentine, even though he's a bit of a schmuck, he doesn't understand what's going on. Like, he has a good back and forth with Speed, and watching Proteus and Julia try and like talk romantically is just like, it's just painful and stupid. Like they are.
Maybe that's why Julia bounces without saying farewell.
Yeah.
In Final Town, she's just like, okay, what I gave you the ring.
That would be the great way to do it. Just be like she doesn't know what to do, so she just walks away. And what is he says something like super romantic. He's just like, oh, gone without a word. Oh, that's what true love would do. It's just like
she's just like,
no,
I've got a
woman
thing.
walks away without talking to you, that's not necessarily a great sign. It almost seems like a great like send up of like in the mind of like heartsick Shakespearean young people, like anything is like the picture of romantic love. Like you could be hit in the face with a mallet, and that's the picture of romantic love. You could get a love note, that's the picture of romantic love. Literally anything. When people are crazy, they'll say, and that's how it should be. Like she should be on fire. That's what happens when you're in love, is someone literally catches on fire.
Yeah. There's a lot of violent there was another violent metaphor for love later on with fire. Well, we'll get to that though. Lucetta and Julia talking a little later on. But yeah, scene 2 really is just let's watch these two idiots part. Just because we need to be reminded of Proteus's blind, his like annoying love for her, just so that this next scene, or the scene 4, actually catches you off guard a little bit. And
I think just to know that like I think the scene before, and I'm saying this as if like he just wrote this all the way through, but like I feel like where we left it, you had no idea if Julia actually felt anything for him, and so to see her like actually feeling something in her own befuddled way, like is actually helpful. Okay, so on to scene 3, the one thing that like, not the one thing, but so Lance is a moron. I do like that like he's consistently a moron, and I like laughing at him. Like having a dog named Crab is just great. It's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's just like
I love any yelling at a dog, yelling at an animal. To me, although I don't like seeing it in real life, is very funny. Like I remember in Washington Square Park. In fact, I wrote a sketch about it because this guy was kind of famous, and among my group of friends at NYU, this guy was kind of like a local legend, but he was constantly screaming at his dog. He was an older man, and there's obviously something wrong with him, but he was just, and you could tell like the relationship had been like that for a long time, because the dog had no response to his and it was really like loud and aggressive, and he'd just be like, "You stupid fucking dog," like over and over again. And we had this theory that secretly, he would go behind a bush and just like cuddle it and go, "I'm sorry, you stupid fucking dog. I don't mean
you're a good stupid fucking dog. I'm just a fucker. You should be yelling at me."
but Lance's scene, it just reminds me of that guy, like this, like crying over, like, I just can't believe it. My mom cried, and this stupid fucking dog didn't cry.
I don't.
Nothing moves this stupid dog.
The cat was wringing its hands.
Yeah, the cat. Even the cat.
Figure out, like, what. I don't know what the hell that means, but it's just funny that this dullard is just like, the cat was sad. Not you. Not this
dog.
Like, if you were at the playground and another parent walked up and they're like, it's a nice dog. Whoa, what's his name? They said Crab. You'd just be like, well, you're mentally deficient. Like that's just like, you can't call one animal the name of another animal. It just, I don't know. Like,
my dog cat.
Oftentimes, like, malapropisms don't do anything for me in Shakespeare, but like out of the gate, like I kind of like that he's just like, he mixes up portion with proportion. He mixes up prodigious with prodigal. Like I don't know, it like actually worked for me, just because I think maybe because he mentions Crab, his dog, right after that. But it just felt like, I feel like this guy would be like talking in like a super low, stupid voice, just like like I don't know. It's just a big wall of text, and it's all so stupid that I enjoy it.
It's played by Ray Romano.
Yes, exactly. Ray Romano, but dumber.
But anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic. Ray Romano.
And yes, he does have that one line.
if he's going to get anti-Semitic, it's nice that it's just like, unlike in other Shakespeare plays, where you're just like, well, this is clearly the dumbest guy on stage. So if you're going to keep coming back to that, then what you're actually saying is anti-Semites are this dumb. It would still be, I can't imagine anyone not cutting that line these days, but it's still just assuring to be like, oh, okay, well, it's coming out of the mouth of an idiot. So
yeah, but the line, it's like, okay, so the line is, even a Jew would have wept, right? At his departure. And it's like, I like to think that, you know, having grown up in rural Pennsylvania, I knew a lot of the bigotry. Like I knew a lot of like,
I know from Mookaloo's.
I know a lot of bigoted sentiments, but I don't know. I'm not familiar with the Jews are emotionally vacant one. Like I don't know that one. Like I'm not familiar with that.
What I get from it is that like when someone decides to be anti-Semitic or anti-anything, and you know they've never left their front yard, then they'll just say things like, "Well, yeah, that's what that group does. They never cry and they steal your bread." And you're just like, first of all, there's no merit to any stereotypes.
They never cry and they steal your bread.
Like, oh, that's just what I've heard. It's like, have you ever met anyone who's not like you? Because what are you talking about? Because and I feel like that could be part of the joke where it's just like, wait,
yeah, and we might let Shakespeare get away with this unless there's another anti-Semitic Semitic bit a little later on that we'll get to by a different character.
It's still Lance, right?
Oh no, it is still Lance. Yeah, it is.
So that's my saving grace here, is that like it's so far it's always him. And I really like when he decides to take off his shoes, say, "This is my mom and this is my dad." And then it reminded me of the scene in Billy Madison where he's making shampoo and conditioner fight. Like, that's just how stupid he is. He's just like, "Then my dad cried, my mom cried." And then he segues from that into like incest jokes where he's just like, "Oh, this one smells like my mom's breath." And like, oh, this one moans like my sister. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what are you talking
It's like
about?
this one with the hole in it is going to be my mom. It's like, okay.
It's like the fact that comes so near after the anti-Semitic stuff is like, okay, well, at least you're like laying it on really thick that this guy is just the dumbest bag of hammers.
And the scene does seem like one of the scenes that you would put in to let. And Shakespeare has these, you know, in other comedies where it just seems to be like it's almost like the Sly scene where it's just like, it's like a pause for everybody to get changed or, or whatever. Let's just send this idiot out there and do this speech.
Well, I like the fact that I think Panthino serves no purpose other than to like move the scenes along. He's like, I'm the guy that walks up to each one. So I almost think it's something like that Panthro from the Cosby Show walks on stage and just like gets people off. Again, it would be great if he was wearing spiked suspenders and had nunchucks claws on the end of them.
Well, you had you talked about the rhythm of this whole act, and I definitely wrote down something about rhythm when Panthino says, you lose the tide and you lose the flood, and if you lose the flood, you lose the voyage. It reminded me of like every bit in a Three Stooges or Marx Brothers where like a straight man does one of those repetitive things. Yeah. And they jump in and they kind of start clapping and like, how did it go? Like lose the tide and lose the flood and lose hey, and then they start spinning him around and like he doesn't know what the hell happened because No,
I feel like everything in here, like you could figure out, like you could have the straight guy Panthino like deliver it like fun like that to drive it up, or you could deliver it straight. But either way, like there's the rhythm in here will just make it so much. There's so much that you could do with each of these just to add comedy to them. And I just want to hit that Lance also does the stupid River of Tears metaphor. So it feels like we're just driving home that all these morons, just there's no one who can pull off a river of tears or a sea of tears or a tide of tears, but it's just like, so it's just clear that everyone who says this is a moron because there's no way to make that metaphor actually work.
And by the end of the play, it would be awesome if Shakespeare had somebody go, love is like, and then everybody else on the stage goes, we know it's a sea of tears. Also, other casting choices for Lance: Stanley Tucci, Andy Dick, and he has that one line, that one pun toward the end, where Panthino says something like, "Oh, I came to call you," and he says, "Sir, call me what thou darest." And I was like, "That's like a Jack Benny."
Yeah.
Like Jack Benny could have made a good Lance. That kind of dry, like awful pun, groany pun, with a sly look to the audience.
Yeah. I think of Lance being someone, I can't think of like who's a great dumb actor. It could be like that.
Ernest P. Worrell. He would have made a good one. He's dead now, right? What was his name?
I can't think who that is. What's he from?
Ernest. He was the Ernest.
Yeah, no, Ernest would be fantastic. I would love to see Ernest.
But that actor is dead. I can't remember his name though.
He is dead.
Varney, Jim Varney. That's his name.
Jim Varney. Nice. That guy with the moon face from Friday Night Lights, who ended up being like a Nazi on Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah.
That guy does a good racist dullard.
Yeah.
And also just whenever he's on screen now, you're just like, oh, I bet you're a white supremacist. That's just typecast. So you could just have him show up talking to his shoes and be like, oh, okay, I know when something horrible comes out of this guy's mouth. And like,
or you do like Sam Rockwell, just have him typecast him for the rest of his life, because he was in
the
Billboards movie. Yeah, he was perfect.
The Billboards movie.
I can't say the whole thing because I don't even remember the town anymore. And I don't remember how many billboards.
I think we drove to at least 2 towns. I was like, is this the town? No.
Oh, that's right. Was it Wyoming?
No, I think it was Missouri.
Missouri, right.
But I don't know what it is, Missouri, which is a valid criticism of the movie. Okay. Scene 4. These two.
Scene 4, and you've got the entry of Thurio, who is kind of, for me, almost like a Gremio character, where it's kind of shut up, like that kind of guy.
He is, but I kind of, maybe it's just that I'm getting used to reading these, but I kind of like the way they push him back and forth. Like he is a schmuck, but I don't know. He doesn't get on my nerves. I understand why he's here out of the gate, whereas I didn't understand why Gremio existed until the 5th act of Shrew. But here, like, it helps that he's introduced, like, as a dullard failed suitor for Sylvia. Like, literally, you get a piece of paper coming into the play. You're like, this is the dumb guy that everyone's going to make fun of. And, like, it just helped overall. Like, I wasn't wondering where this guy was going throughout. I do like, and I also like the way Valentine, it's formed again. Like I like Valentine when he's like not taking the bait with Speed, but I also like the way Valentine's given it to him throughout the scene.
To Thurio.
Yeah, to Thurio.
Yeah.
The sub notes here said that this was not a pun, but I really like in line 19 where he's like, he refers to his jerkin.
Yeah.
It's just like that's great. You're both trying to win Milady's love in front of her, and so you're just going to talk about how he's jerking it. That's great. That's classy.
Yeah. Well, he goes one too far though. He's like jerking. Well, this is a doublet. Well, then you're doubly an idiot.
Yeah.
It's like okay, yeah, doublet.
And after that, he's like, jerkin boy Thurio is spoiling for a fight, and he's like, well, you're lucky I don't fight. And he's like, yeah, no, I know you often stop short of right before you're supposed to get something done. And it was just like, oh, that's a premature ejaculation joke. See, Valentine, you got it. You're interested.
Valentine definitely gets like he even gets the last zinger before I think Proteus comes in. He says, I think no other treasure to give your followers, for it appears by their bare liveries that they live by your bare words. Like, and you're cheap too. And then his friend comes in. Yeah. Valentine is standardized clay.
Oh, your liveries.
I'm over here now. Goosh. Sylvia. Goosh.
Oh, they're so bad. Goosh.
Goosh. I was over there. No, I'm over here now. That would be perfect. But yeah, so like I do like
Sylvia.
that. I do like that. Sylvia came in and she said,
Oh,
"What are you gonna do?"
She said, write me a letter. So I wrote a letter. Sylvia.
That's the end of that.
So, I feel like Valentine is like interesting situationally. So he's great when he's just giving endless shit to Thurio. He's less effective in just like talking to Sylvia. And as soon as his friend walks in, he's just kind of a schmuck. Like when he's asked about Proteus, he just lies about him in boring ways. I kind of respect him for like sticking up for his friend and making his friend seem smart and cool. But at the same time, like, I don't know. He just like, as soon as they're like, whenever those two are in the same room, like they are less interesting together. And whenever any of the attempted lovers are in the same room together, they're less interesting together. Like Valentine insulting someone to try and get Sylvia is interesting. Valentine talking to Sylvia is just boring and embarrassing for everyone.
Well, I mean, I think that for me, the only boring part of it is that I should say it's boring because I think we've seen this scene. Like we still see this scene today where two friends haven't seen each other for a hot second, and the one friend who moved first to the different, because if you remember in the beginning of the play, Valentine was like, I'm off to see the world, man, and you're just going to stay here in love with that girl. Come on. I think that Valentine, like, and that's why I think what, Speed and Valentine's exchange earlier about whether or not Sylvia is actually as great as Valentine thinks. I think Valentine is playing the, I'm a man of the world now. My lady is so hot, and it's like not like that, that sack of grain that you have back home, like really playing it up. And then it got me thinking, like, does Proteus fall for Sylvia? If Valentine had shut up about it, if Valentine hadn't been playing up his great new life, would Proteus even have cared?
Yeah, because I think the sequence is like, so Sylvia, so if I have it straight, Sylvia, so Valentine talks up Proteus. Proteus walks on stage. Sylvia's just heard all these nice things about him. She likes the way he looks. Proteus is like, he describes himself as trash, and just keeps complimenting her. And she's like, well, I'll talk to you later, Proteus. And Proteus is like a stand-up guy. He's like, we'll both talk to you later because he loves you, but cool, yes, see you later. But then after that, the two of them start going back and forth. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it's essentially that Valentine successfully insults Julia enough that he like gets inside Proteus's head, and Proteus is just like, well, she was cute, she had eyes for me, you're saying my current girl is trash. Like, I think maybe Proteus is just like that easily manipulated.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is like he's easily manipulated, but he's somehow aware of it too, because he does have a line, he says, is it my mind or Valentine's praise?
Yeah.
And that was my question exactly. Like, it's like, you can't possibly be feeling this. I think it's just, the sway of a new town and your friend. And that's the other thing. You can tell Valentine's kind of full of shit here, because he's like, one of the first things he says is, oh, she's great. And yeah, we're getting married.
Yeah.
It's like, we're getting married soon too. So, like,
well, no, it's great because I love that, like, he like sets her up for that, because doesn't he say that right after he says like one line? Yeah, no, Proteus is like, Valentine is like, so Valentine is talking utter shit about how Proteus's love sucks and his is great, and Proteus is like, okay, but she loves you. And that's when Valentine starts lying. He's like, yeah, we're getting married, I'm gonna climb up a tower, there's gonna be doves,
yeah.
and a water slide, and it's, I don't know, like it's also like the first time that like Proteus gets interesting, when he just like nails him with that one line, like, okay, you have this flowery talk, and you're saying that my girlfriend is only fit to carry your girlfriend around so that the earth doesn't try and have sex with your girlfriend.
Yeah, I didn't care for that bit of flowery language right there.
That agreement will work with the dice. She's like, oh, your girl. Your girl's good for, carry my girl around. But that's essentially like, that's what clicks him over in his head essentially, and like then Proteus is the mind to just like, all right, I'm going to ask some pointed questions. Are you just talking out of your ass, or does she love you? And then Valentine just starts lying. And but it's interesting that Proteus has no reason to know he's lying, and him lying about being married to her somehow makes him decide to go after her. Like logically, they'd be like, okay, well, if you guys are engaged, then I won't. But something about that just makes him more smitten with her.
Yeah, that's why I think Proteus should be played by Michael Cera, and I think we'll have Valentine played. Or actually, I wanted Thurio played by Will Arnett for some reason. Just a guy who occasionally tries to like mix it up and then just gets yelled at, has to recede into the background.
I think you could just cast this entire show with Arrested Development people, and
Oh yeah,
if you did,
Jason Bateman as Valentine.
yeah, totally. Just like
That's a good fit.
They're just like taking shit from people and just like having one line, like that line before where it's just like, yeah, to be clear, I'm smitten with her. That could come out of Jason Bateman's job pretty effectively. You have Duke being played by Tambor, the now disgraced.
Yep. The now disgraced Tambor.
Easy casting.
The low,
okay.
the low rumblings of Jeffrey Tambor. Jeffrey Tambor.
Tell me about your friend.
my friend Jordan and I like to laugh at you ever see 3 O'Clock High?
Oh God, yeah. We rewatched
so
that
good.
last year. That thing is like Empire Strikes Back. Every second of that.
Every frame is a delight.
Yes.
And there's a scene where Jeffrey Tambor takes Casey Zemesco through the school store that's been ransacked.
Yeah.
I think by Casey Zemesco.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Tambor just goes, look at this. Who would do something like this? just like you can't tell, like, does he know? It's just like a strange, he's just got such a strange cadence to his voice.
God, when I started watching that movie, I was like this, I love this so much I almost don't want to watch it because I haven't watched it in 20 years, and it was so perfect. It was just,
it's a great movie. Listeners, if you haven't seen that, get on it. I actually auditioned with Casey Zemesco once, way back in the day, for a commercial.
Is he the main character?
He's the main guy. Yeah, and he it was very short.
That scene where he breaks the guy's finger and knocks him out and goes shh. It's just like that's well done. That high school thug really seems like a terrifying thug. Like you.
Yes.
After that scene, you're like, oh, he's gonna kill him.
Yeah. No, it's so well done. You almost forget that everybody's in their 30s when they do that. When they made that movie. This high school's full of 30-year-olds. Anyway, so Proteus Proteus is now on the move for Sylvia.
Yes, I thought you were about to say Proteus is now on the moon, and I was like, sweet.
He's on the moon. And then we have yet another vignette with Lance, but this time Speed, who's obviously the funnier of the two, gets in what I can only describe as one of the most infuriating conversations in Shakespeare. I fucking hate this scene. I hate it so much. And I think it's because Speed is the funnier guy, but he doesn't get a chance to say any of the jokes. It's all stupid.
It's like having just a terrible actor and a good actor, and the terrible actor just has all the lines. You're just like, oh God, you just.
Will the camera please cut to someone else? Like that pun about understands is so infuriating that I almost.
So again, like I think the way you have to do that is like you have to cast Adam Sandler or something where like you can't think that these are good puns. You have to think, my God, what a moron. I'm glad.
He just angrily yells the pun.
Yeah.
The staff is under me. It's on. It's under me. It's standing under me. Boo.
You suck, Lance.
Oh, it makes me want to dig up Shakespeare and punch him in the fucking face.
Well,
It is the worst.
There's okay, there's at least three things I like about this scene. First of all, they're in Milan, and so Speed's opening is like, Lance, by mine honesty, welcome to Padua. And so, like, by mine honesty,
I didn't even catch that.
Welcome to this place where you aren't. And so it's just like a double, I'm going to lie to you, you're not worth telling the truth to. And so I like that overall. When Lance says, ask my dog, it just reminds me of Crab, and I love Crab. When I see the dog, I just picture a dog named Crab, and I laugh because I'm a moron. There's a dog named Crab.
I picture a terrier.
This is not something you would read on stage, but line 40 is Speed says you why you horse an ass. That was me. And the end note for that is like, in my version, is horse on ass is a mildly abusive epithet. Like, it's a wonderfully terrible epithet. It's not mildly abusive. Like, what's slower than you son of a whore donkey? Like, just the fact, like, it's completely works in English, but just the fact that, like, my book is just like, and this is an epithet. Like, it's whoreson. It's
yeah.
I don't know. It works on a great meta level for me.
Oh, there's a lot of Shakespeare that needs to be explained to me, but you don't have to explain that one. I get that one. I see the word whoreson.
Ass, both of them. And I
get it.
I like, so there's times when I hate the classism built into Shakespeare, but I like in this scene, both of these guys arguing about which of their bosses fucks better. And I just like the fact that because I feel like I've got Speed clear in my head right now. And the fact that he says, like, I tell thee my master is a hot lover, it makes me laugh. Like, it's just, it takes the thing where I'm just like, it's stupid that Shakespeare always has these people going to bat for their bosses and just raises it to a level of absurdity. Like, it's an absurd thing to say, but also to say that to Lance is just like, Lance doesn't know how to have sex. Lance has never seen anyone have sex.
Well, he does it with a shoe, probably.
Yeah, it's like arguing with a donkey. And so just to be like, I can't tell you how hot you've never seen hot until you've seen my boss give it.
And believe me, I've watched.
I'm telling you what.
I can describe in great detail.
And lastly, that Speed is that, like, they're arguing, and then, like, Speed's like, all right, fuck it, let's go get a drink. Like, it's clear that there's no stakes to it, and, like, they both agree that their time would be better spent going to get a drink.
And now that you mention it, I think what you just said there about the class structure, and Shakespeare does this a lot, and I probably should have picked up on it earlier, but, like, very often when you have, like, the two, for lack of a better term, royals, who have started a rivalry, you kind of need that. The peons to have a rivalry too, So Lance and Speed as the sort of Valentine and Proteus parody, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense. But I do feel like, though, there's some, I don't know, Lance is kind of confounding because he, in the first scene that you saw him, you wouldn't expect that he was gonna come on this strong. Like, all of a sudden, like in the very, very first scene, he's crying and yelling at his dog, and then now he's like Shecky Green with the one-liners over here, he's like, hey, ba-da-pa-pa.
Yeah, I think, like, and again, like, it's not that the jokes land for me, it's that I feel like I've got a clear view of these characters, and so, like, I feel like I can understand the scene and its absurdity to a certain degree. And so, since, like, the point of Lance's character is just to be a buffoon, the fact that he is a buffoon, even unnecessarily an anti-Semitic buffoon, again in this scene,
he really can't help himself. Like, one of his, he basically says, "Come to the bar with me, or you're a Jew." Like, it's like, whoa.
Then, to Speed's credit, he's like, what?
Yeah, it really is kind of like, wait.
Racist, right? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I'm Jewish. All right, I'm going to go drink with you, but just to be clear, you don't know how to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah, just cool it on the Jew stuff while we're in the bar.
Town where there's clearly no Jewish people, no one's ever met a Jewish person. I'm not saying you should travel the world in order to be better at being anti-Semitic. I'm just saying, stop it. Just you see how I said horse and ass, and those words all made sense? Just go with that. Just use something within a vernacular that you have some experience with. You utter moron.
Keep going back to Adam Sandler as Lance. That's a good fit, especially with the Jew lines. I think there'd be a double irony there.
Yeah, no, I think
come to the bar with me.
It would, the only way you could include those lines is if it was an actor who you knew had a comedic history of making fun of his own Jewish heritage. Like otherwise, yeah, no, cut those lines, cut them all the way.
Gilbert Gottfried as come to the bar with me, or you're a Jew.
So my dog, and my mother, my brother. Oh, that smells like mom. I would love Gilbert Gottfried.
This shoe has a hole.
So I'm calling you. That would be an absolute delight. Anything can be salvaged.
Who do I need to talk to make this happen? So anyway, with that little comic sidestep,
oh yeah, well, that's the other thing is I feel like the rhythm of this is often is just like. So I like that scene, you didn't like that scene, but regardless, like I feel like there's always a palate cleanser, or something nice that you eat before you get a goddamn awful soliloquy. So I like this just goes right into this. You get the two not the two interesting people. You get the two semi-funny people talking in the earlier scene. Then here you just go right into, you go right into Proteus, just like talking for 6,000 words.
And he's just a total jerk, like he's a total jerk. If I go after this girl, I ruin my relationships. So don't do it, asshole. You're an obvious jerk. Like it shouldn't even be a question.
And the one thing that I feel like I'm liking about this play is I feel like the characters are, again, and maybe this is just like me getting better at this, but like I understand these characters, and I like the fact that like the first thing that Valentine gives him criticism for is like you've never done anything, you've never left the house, and like he seems like a guy that's never left the house. Like everything that he's saying here is just like, dude, have you ever like done anything? Have you ever just like your soliloquy is dumb, your comparisons are dumb, you're laying out, like you just said, you're laying out like, oh, this would be immoral, and I don't want to be immoral, so what should I do?
Yeah. You said it, friend. You already said it. It's immoral, so stop it.
This is probably why you're saying it in a soliloquy, because if there was someone else here, they'd be saying, I think you answered your own fucking question. Slur against Ethiopians for no reason.
Swarthy Ethiop. And my first thing that I thought was Shakespeare a Klansman? Like, was he an early Klansman? How the fuck? We're only in Act 2.
Well,
already there are two Jewish slurs and a swarthy Ethiop line.
I'm like, sorry for trying to like come up with excuses for all this stuff, but it's a good word for me in that Ethiopian women are the most beautiful women on the planet. It's Ethiopians are like it's when you bring Italians and Black Africans together, and just like every single person in Ethiopia is like statuesque, beautiful. Like they are like some of the most beautiful people on the planet. So to be like, oh man, she's like an Ethiop, is just be like, you dumb bastard. So like I'm giving Shakespeare too much credit there, but I'm saying if you wanted to do it the right way, you could actually like make this a way to highlight just how stupid this guy is. I'm probably giving this 16th century writer way too much credit. It's probably just saying something racist about the only black nation that he's aware of, so that's the one that he named. But
well, from here on out, we're just going to call him Shakespeare the Cable Guy. You guys swore the Ethiop in there.
We should come with a rule that, like, if, like, yes, John can explain it away, but if David Duke could say it into a microphone, then we probably shouldn't give him an out. It's not triple ironic. It's in fact just stupid.
No, in fact, like it actually reminded me with with that line, it reminded me of Winter's Tale, which we'll get to toward the end because it's one of his later ones. But the treatment of Caliban as a as an other.
About Caliban being black, or is he just a slave?
He's a slave / islander, and his description is of being a monster, like a fish man.
Yeah.
But like you can tell just by like the
but you can get it.
Well, you can get it just by Prospero's discussion of how they got there to the island, because it's like they were heading toward, like the other group of people are heading toward Africa, and then one of the guys in the group, I think it's Sebastian or maybe Antonio, says something like none of this would have happened if you weren't marrying your daughter to that black guy. Like it's really just like a whoa, and it's like it's not uncommon in Shakespeare to take a few digs at Africa, like it's relatively common.
In 40-Year-Old Virgin, when Steve Carell's character is trying to act like he's made out with women before, and he's just like, oh yeah, she had breasts, they were just like a bag of sand. So
Yeah.
That's what I feel like is these characters trying to be racist, where it's just like, what did you even, again, now I can't wait for Winter's Tale to just be like, oh yeah, and they're fish
I'm
people,
sorry,
right?
I said Winter's Tale. It's The Tempest. I don't know why my
That's
head
fine.
is gone.
But they'll be like 39 and 40, but all the same, just be like, oh yeah, and they're fish people, right? Just like, what?
Yeah.
No.
They're all fish people.
That's where racism comes from, is the fishy lips.
But like but Proteus's, racist comments aside, he really is a jerk. Like, he says, I cannot now prove constant to myself without some treachery used to Valentine. So like his thesis in this whole thing is, I love myself most of all.
Oh yeah, no.
So I should be true to myself, right?
Anytime someone's like, I'm at a moral quandary, I've got to let's remember, I do love myself. It's just like, well, all right, I don't think you really have a moral quandary. I think you're just going to do whatever you want to do. Like it was really jarring to have that. Well, she's the moon in the sky. He's my best friend of all time. But let's remember, the greatest love of all is the love for yourself, as the late great Whitney Houston taught us.
Yeah, yeah. But it reminds me of like my wife likes to watch a lot of reality shows, and it reminds me of that kind of like the upper class co-opting that kind of self-help stuff where this is my truth and my I need to take care of me, right? And it's like, yes, but if you're somebody who's like regularly goes through oppression and things like that, yes, you need to value yourself and stuff, but not necessarily above all others all the time. Like you do have some kind of moral obligation to look around you and say, are my actions hurting others around me?
It does. Like he does a pretty good diagram of it, and he's just like, all right, so I'm in love, which is weird because I was totally in love with this other woman, just head over heels, desperate for her to just glance at me. And then it only changed because my best friend talked shit to me. And I met this other woman. She was nice to me. So let's do the math. Like this other woman I love, I told her I'd come back to her. This is my best friend. I don't even know this woman. She's basically just a picture.
Yep.
So, oh yeah, but I love myself. So I guess I should do whatever I'm feeling right now this very second.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
He does it. He perfectly diagrams it. It's just like, oh, but I feel this way right now. So,
and that's where the comedy lies, right? It's like he knows that this is an awful decision, but he's like,
and
I'm going to pretend Julia's dead. Like that. That's where his brain goes immediately. Well, so she's got to be, in my mind, dead, and Valentine's my bitter enemy. There you go.
And from the point of view of like the viewer, like I do feel like this, like Proteus thinking about, I'll play this dullard Thurio against Valentine and everything. Like it's the first time he seems smart, and so I'm like, okay, well this is actually interesting. Like it's better it's so much better than watching him do 3 more soliloquies about an ocean of tears. And so like, I don't know, I'm happy with it. He's contemptible, but contemptible is so much better than boring from the point of view of someone
Oh, sure.
standing in the stands.
Sure, and I think with the right casting, as I said, like I would love to see somebody like Michael Cera play this part. You know, this like wishy-washy dork who
Michael Cera to be like, I'm going to put this in motion. Totally.
Yeah. I think it would be awesome. I've got to love myself, right?
Okay, so 7. What 7? Finally. Oh, finally.
7, the longest act in Shakespearean history.
So, and this continues the. I'm just looking at the page right now, and the page is just a block of text from Julia, then one line from Lucetta, and then a block of text from Julia, and it just goes back to like what I really like about the rhythm throughout this is just like the morons talk at length, and the smart people just like cut them down with one line. And that's just what she does throughout here. And it's kind of a joy to read because Lucetta's diagnosed this whole thing from the get-go, and like so Julia's done a 180 and she's in love with him now, and Lucetta's just like, yeah, but you waited too long. And she's like, oh yeah, but I can't wait to, yeah, but I wouldn't fall too in love. Oh, why not? Because you waited too long. Like, he left. You didn't tell him you loved him, and he got on a boat. That's bad.
Yeah.
And she's just saying it out loud, and she's like, oh, I know, but okay, so I should go see him. Okay, how are you going to dress? Well, I won't dress like a lady. You're right. You should put a hose in your pants. If you think so. It's just great to see her just be like, just realize that she can put anything into this dolt's brain one line at a time. She's like, well, if that is that the style? To put a hose in your pants? Okay.
Yeah. You have to look like you have a dick, Julia.
It's got
or it's not going to work.
You're a man unless there is like a 8-foot salami on your leg. Otherwise,
that is definitely how I would direct it.
Whoa, it's hose. That's a woman.
That is definitely how I would direct it. I would have literally like the arm from a baby from a doll baby.
You want to look like a man, right? You're right.
And honestly, like this cross-dressing stuff it must have killed back then. It must have killed because Shakespeare does it all the time.
Well, so usually I don't like it. I'm interested if I like it in the next scene, but I like Julia's stupidity here, where she's just like, well, obviously I'll dress like a man, and it's so stupid. Like there's other things where like
because I don't want to get hit on.
Yeah, like for 12th Night, it'll have to like land emotionally, but for here, like she's just a dum dum. She's just like, well, I don't want to do anything improper, so I don't want to get hit on, so I'll dress like a man and I'll put a hose in my pants, right? She's like, yeah, that'd be the least improper thing to do, Julia. Just, yes, just go stick this in your pants and dress like a boy. I'm sure that'll work out great.
And Julia, again, she's as you say, they're morons, but like Proteus, she's just as much of a jerk.
Well, she diagrams it just like Proteus does, and she's like, well, yeah, it could go wrong, and then everything, he might not like it if I'm dressed like a man. And Lucetta's like, yeah, so stay home. She's like, well, she's like, yeah, Proteus, where she gets all the way there, and in this case, Lucetta's actually in the room. She's like, yeah, you're right. This is a dumb idea, so don't.
Yeah. I like that one line, Julia. She throws it away. And Lucetta doesn't actually respond to it, but it's such a dig. She says, "Didst thou but know the inly touch of love?" Like if you had a man in your life, and Lucetta, you can feel like the bitch. I'm gonna murder you.
We know that Julia's never known the touch of a man, and that Lucetta probably has gotten anything that she's wanted to before. So like it's just someone like having to take shit from their boss, being like, yes, you're so smart, you're so worldly. Yes, I could never be. This is one of the first times I can remember like a scene ending and like teeing up something that I'm excited for, because out the door Julia is just like, okay, and again, obviously I'm gonna leave you all the title to my name and my lands and everything else. So, because again, that's just the simplest thing to do. And like, I doubt I'll get to see as much awesomeness out of Lucetta as I'd like to, but it seemed like we were talking last time about how like I want to watch Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, just because the lower cast characters are often more exciting, and like I'm just excited to say, like, oh, someone who's not an absolute dullard have access to like power and land and horses and just like the fun things you could do with that. And so I was like, oh, like that's actually like, if the lights went up at that point, I'd be like, oh, cool. I'm excited for Act 3 because I hope Lucetta starts some kind of orgy or something at her at Julie's estate or something, because she will the place.
Lucetta and Speed back in action. That's Lucetta and Speed too. When Lucetta
Speed back in action.
Lucetta gets the all of Julia's estate, and they just go into business together. It's zany. Like they start a winery.
That's like, yeah, that would be like the 80s comedy arc, would be like Lucetta and Speed like take over their lords and ladies things, and just like they're actually better at running everything, so they can take control of everything. But since this is Shakespeare, the lower class people will be laid low by Act 5.
Yes, and they will not get their comeuppance. Well, not their comeuppance, but their due. What is due them?
Down gettins. No.
The down gettins. Yeah, this actually, like as I said, at the beginning, like this was definitely one of the acts that I think structurally like ticks all the boxes of like dramatic structure. Like we're setting up the big stuff here, and it moves quickly, and it definitely it's entertaining at times, with the one exception of Lance, which I just can't. Well, spot myself. I'm taking it on my microphone now. But yeah, like I think structurally this is like one of the, like Shakespeare is clearly getting into the groove here of like how this should flow,
Yeah, I just feel like every character kind of fits, and like we know who the smart people are, who the idiots are, and like I understand what kind of world and what story we're in for. And I think that also helps coming after Shrew, where it was just like every act was just like, well, this is barely sustainable. Like, I don't know if this can all add up, but this all adds up as like a nice, fun farce. And the classism is just like, it hasn't been laid on thick at all so far. So I'm really happy. Apropos of nothing, like looking at these two guys, I felt like this would be much better, like renamed like Two Guys from Poughkeepsie or something like that. Just like these are not two gentlemen from Verona. These are just like two guys who grew up together, but like, and both their dads own like used car dealerships or something. But like I don't know, they like all the mannerisms, the storytelling throughout just like makes sense. Like, oh yeah, this is maybe Verona was like the Cincinnati or Poughkeepsie of its day, but like. This makes so much more sense if you just think of it as like two well-to-do teenagers and like the people around them who are just tired of their shit.
Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, yes. Star in Two Fellows from Babylon.
Licensed to drive to
Verona. School's out for Verona.
Yes, I want to recast all of Shakespeare's plays as 80s teen comedies.
Our favorite teen comedy of the 1980s is Teen Witch. I want to be the most popular girl. Sorry, we want to be the most popular girl. Most popular girls? Ugh, it's starting to get confusing now. Fat and Greasy Citizens is presented by the players Chuck and Gabe. Theme song, A Robust Crew, is by Darren Curtis. Next week, Act 3 of Two Gentlemen of Verona. And for me, 2 plays of my Sharona.